Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. My name is Ashfaq Gondal and I am a Senior Advisor in Center for Global and Strategic Studies, a renowned think tank of Islamabad. And I'm also retired Federal Secretary, and I've been Chairman of Pakistan Television Corporation. I've been Chairman of Pakistan Radio as well. And we have this Center for Global and Strategic Studies has been conducting seminars, roundtables, and discussion programs on national and international issues. And we have been visiting China, South Asia, and Central Asia as well for attending seminars and conferences on regional and international issues. The think tank is a partner with a number of think tanks in Central Asia and China as well. We are the think tank of Shanghai Cooperation Organization as well. And today we are launching a new program, that is Muqalma. And we will be inviting national and international personalities to discuss issues, current affair issues, national issues and international issues, to educate our listeners and to inform our listeners, because I think that is very important at the moment to educate the new generation about the Pakistan's policy on different international issues as well. Our today's guest with us is Mr. Jayanath Colombage, who is a retired naval chief of Sri Lanka, and he is not only a military person but a very renowned scholar as well, because he is a visiting professor in one of the China's most eminent universities as well. And he is in fact working along with other colleagues in Sri Lanka on South China policy, which Sri Lanka is going through at the moment. Our today's guest is Admiral Jayanath Colombage, and he is head of a think tank in Sri Lanka with the Ministry of Defense, because he has already been working as advisor to the President of Sri Lanka on defense matters as well. And today we'll be discussing with him this Indian Ocean policy, which is being formulated by Sri Lanka these days, along with Singapore. And since Indian Ocean is a very important ocean in South Asia, and there are many stakeholders in this Indian Ocean, we'll be discussing with Admiral Colombage that how far the Sri Lankan government has taken into confidence the other stakeholders of this Indian Ocean while formulating this Indian Ocean policy. First of all, thank you very much, Admiral, for being with us. And my question would be the Indian Ocean policy. What is this policy about, and who is the initiator of this policy, who initiated this policy, and how the region is going to benefit from this Indian Ocean policy?
Indian Ocean has become a contested region, ocean region, and the changing economics in the world is now more focused in the Indian Ocean. And the Indian Ocean therefore is the center of gravity of global economics, and as a result center of global strategic competition also. It is not only the littorals of the Indian Ocean who are interested in the ocean. There are many external or extra-regional powers who are interested or having a stake in the Indian Ocean. And therefore, there is a requirement to have a new maritime security architecture in the Indian Ocean in order to maintain the freedom of navigation, freedom of overfly, freedom of maritime commerce, and with that the prosperity of people. So how do we really maintain the status quo in the Indian Ocean among this strategic competition is a question, and that is why we have come out with this the need for a new security regional architecture or new Indian Ocean order. So the Indian Ocean Rim Association has taken the initiative based on their Jakarta summit. They have decided that Sri Lanka should be playing the lead role in designing policies for maritime security and maritime safety. So Sri Lanka is now working on it, and they have appointed a working group. They are obtaining feedback from various stakeholders. So one thing I can say is, when Sri Lanka design such a policy, it has to be an inclusive one. We can't exclude any particular country. For example, Pakistan. There is no way that we can design an Indian Ocean security architecture without Pakistan. We cannot also discard China. China is pretty much there. China is very linked to the Indian Ocean. Historically, they were in the Indian Ocean, and China is bordering 4 Indian Ocean countries, Indian Ocean littorals. So therefore, China should be there. So whatever the mechanism that we come out with, it has to be an inclusive one, and then only it can sustain. Otherwise, what will happen is, we design an architecture without considering major players, then that initiative will not succeed. So how we do that is, I think Sri Lanka need to be very mindful of the countries, their standing, their strategic value, strategic consideration, and strategic contribution to the whole of Indian Ocean security and safety.
Pakistan being the main one of the stakeholders in Indian Ocean, so it has to be member of IORA, and at the same time, in the new circumstances, the changing circumstances, China is also becoming the stakeholder in Indian Ocean as well, and there are other countries as well who are the stakeholders in Indian Ocean as well. And being India, India being the, I would say, main stakeholder, becoming the stakeholder in this policy making issue, but of course Sri Lanka is making this policy. And don't you think this this policy is the main driver behind this policy, maybe United States? Because after China's this ABOR and Belt and Road Initiative, China has stakes in Indian Ocean as well. And of course, this United States would not like China to be part of this policy, but at the same time, it cannot exclude it. And India, at the same time, is working like I would say, like a proxy of United States in this whole affairs.
Yeah, we do see that USA mainly, I think, trying to quote India than India quoting USA. Because if you see the statements coming from USA, there were many times it was stated that India is central to USA's Indo-Pacific strategy.
Yes.
But we have not really heard the same thing coming from India. And also, if you look at this quadrilateral security dialogue between India, USA, Japan and Australia, now I think USA is fully committed to devise this quadrilateral security dialogue. It's like a military alliance. But I think India has been cautious, because India is a Indian Ocean country, it's the biggest country, it's the biggest military.
Yes.
But India has repeatedly said that no single country can be the net security provider in the Indian Ocean, and therefore we need burden sharing, we need collaborative efforts. And I think this the initiative that Sri Lanka is working on actually came from the Indian Ocean Rim Association summit meeting in Jakarta. So I don't know whether there is some hidden hand in it, but I think Sri Lanka will not be easily considering that aspect, because we have to be mindful of the Indian Ocean. And I think as a small country, we are clearly intending to maintain the status quo of the Indian Ocean as a free and open Indian Ocean. And we don't want a single hegemony or single power trying to dominate matters in the Indian Ocean. That is period. We all need, everyone should be able to use the Indian Ocean for their trade, for their commerce, for their shipping, flying, and other extracting other resources, fishing and so on. So we don't want a single country to be dominant.
At the same time, Professor, I believe it is the responsibility of all states who have stakes in Indian Ocean to look after the security and to ensure the security and safety of the Indian Ocean. Rather, it becoming a playground for those who are maybe far away and some proxies working for that country maybe. So it is, I don't think it is the responsibility of other countries as well, both China, Pakistan, Sri Lanka and some other countries as well, who are in fact benefiting from this Indian Ocean.
No, definitely. I am a very ardent proponent of having our own narrative.
Yeah.
I always say the Indian Ocean should have their own narrative. Indian Ocean should have our own strategy. So far, I mean, as long as we don't have our own strategy or narrative, then we have to dance to the tune of others' narrative.
Maybe, yes.
Right? Now, see, we keep talking about Japan's free and open Indo-Pacific policy. We keep talking about USA's rebalance into Indo-Pacific strategy. But where is our strategy? Where is, for that matter, where is SAARC? Where is SAARC strategy?
Yes, that's right.
Right? So we need to have our own strategy and our own narrative and our own mechanism. As long as we are divided, as long as we don't think on behalf of ourselves, we have to allow the extra-regional forces to come in. And their interests are not as same as our interests. Our interests are very basic. We really want to develop our countries economically. We want to uplift our people. We want to be part of the global value chain. We want to be connected more, or rather I would say we want to be reconnected to the situation where we were in the 18th century. So we need to think of ourselves. We need to think of our region. We need to have an identity, our own identity, and we need to focus having our own narrative rather than always dancing to the tune of other major powers.
So that's true. In fact, Professor, what is the need of the time now? I believe, as you said, we should have an Indian Ocean narrative as such. So to develop that kind of a narrative, is it not important for all the regional countries to sit together and develop an Indian Ocean narrative, which could benefit all the regional countries and to maintain peace in the Indian Ocean?
Well, it is definitely a basic requirement. I mean, if we are not in the same platform or if we are not in the same group, whatever we talk and whatever we come out will not be inclusive. So, for example, now although we are dealing with the IORA, Indian Ocean Rim Association, I think key countries like Pakistan, Maldives, even Saudi Arabia is not part of the IORA. So we have to find out ways of getting these three countries also into the mainstay of IORA. Otherwise, what will happen is, now I don't see any reason why Pakistan should not be in IORA. Now Pakistan is a member of Indian Ocean Naval Symposium. Right? So why not in the Indian Ocean Rim Association? Because Indian Ocean Naval Symposium is a little more military oriented, but the Indian Ocean Rim Association is more politically oriented. So there is no reason why Pakistan should not be. And unless we have all key stakeholders participating in this dialogue, it is not going to last. So definitely that is a basic requirement.
But where are the impediments? Why Pakistan is not member of IORA? Why Saudi Arabia is not member of IORA? Why Maldives is not member of IORA for that
But these are, I think...
And where are the impediments?
No,
we should be...
There should not be any impediment.
And we should be identifying those impediments to bring these countries on board.
Exactly. I think these are the issues relating to the charter. When the organization was created, somebody must have thought, okay, how do we keep someone out? So this actually boils down to the originally created charter. So I think as IORA countries, we may have to revisit that charter and even if necessary make an amendment to include other players like Pakistan, Maldives and Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, that's right. But that charter was designed and initiated by which country?
I think mainly both IORA and IONS, both initiated by India. So they were the main driver behind the two, and these two organizations have grown quite well. So I think we need to indicate the requirement for the need to change the charter if necessary.
That's very, very important, because if we do not change that charter, it would be rather difficult to develop and design a new Indian Ocean narrative.
Yeah.
So if that the case may be, that the India initiated that charter, that means maybe India was working as a proxy for someone to initiate that
Yeah, but
charter.
then okay, so we have India, we have other countries,
Yeah.
and they also should voice their opinion.
Yeah.
And I don't see any reason why other countries cannot express their opinion, because these are democratic forums. These are not authoritarian dictatorship type forums. It should not be. It should be participatory forums. So when we realize that there is a flaw, there is a issue, we need to put it to the table and discuss. And I think, even in Indian think tank forums, I am always saying that Pakistan should be a member of IORA.
Yeah.
Now, similarly, on the BIMSTEC, Bay of Bengal, I always say Indonesia should be a member of BIMSTEC.
That's right. But
Logically, you just look at the geography, and end of Bay of Bengal is Indonesia, and Indonesia we have not taken. So I think we need to, when these organizations were created some time ago, the situation is different, and now the status quo is different. Now I think we need make amendments. We need, as you said, no matter what we come out with, it will not sustain unless we have an inclusive approach.
But Professor, how do you visualize peace initiatives in South Asia, and of course in the whole region, in all these circumstances which are going on at the moment?
Well, my observation is, I think all South Asian countries should take stocks of where we are now. Now we are like 71 years after independence, and at the time of independence, our countries were, okay. In many ways, we were okay. But then we have missed opportunities. We missed the Industrial Revolution. We missed the globalization, and we became kind of subject of big powers. And as long as we shed our differences, as long as we don't work together as a region, I don't think we can prosper. Now, if you take SAARC trade, is only less than 5% of our total GDP. So that means we are very little connected in our own region, and we always look extra region for our trade, which is not the best thing. We have a very huge population.
That's very unfortunate, because SAARC was visualized to promote relations, particularly the trade relations, economic relations between the regional countries. But unfortunately, this organization has become victim of Indo-Pak relations.
Yes.
And it could not move on. And I believe similar thing, because similar fears are in the minds of India. That is why they have not included Pakistan in this IORA, because they think if Pakistan comes, this initiative may not be defeated then.
Well, I think we have to shed our differences and think to the future. We were very well connected. Basically, we were one country, one big country, a pre-colonial time. We had religious connectivity, cultural connectivity, and today I visited Takshila and I learned so much about how Buddhism prevailed in Pakistan, that time undivided India, and then how different civilization, whether it is Greek, Emperor Ashoka's, or the Persian civilization, all coexisted in one place. And to my surprise, these Buddhist shrines were looked after by Muslim government or archaeological department officers or volunteers. So that is a clear indication that we were connected in the history. So we need to shed our differences, and I think we need to think of the future of our people. I think our leaders should make decisions not purely based on their ego or individual countries, but if you think of people, I am sure many of the actions that we have been taking in the past, we may have to change. Look at the people-centric approach by all our leaders. And if Europe, which has been fighting for hundreds of years, can form a European Union and can think of a common currency, can think of a visa-free travel regime and now can think of a European army, the countries which were religiously, culturally, trade-wise linked, why can't we work together? So we need to shed our differences. I think main problem in SAARC is, of course, the elephant in the room, the bilateral issue between India and Pakistan. So I feel that should not be an impediment to the progress of SAARC. We have to overcome that. So the SAARC charter again prohibit discussing bilateral issues. Okay, so that is the main.
So that is the main issue. That's
the main issue.
Because so, that prohibits discussing the bilateral.
So I mean, in the name of common prosperity, we are preventing that from happening because we have a bilateral issue. So how do you justify that? So we need to overcome this petty issue, and I think I'm happy to see that the Prime Minister Imran Khan has been offering many olive branches and opening that 4-kilometer corridor. These are, I think, essential confidence building measures. I mean, when I really look at India and Pakistan, to me, you were one country, one people some time ago. But now it is not the case. And it is actually a tension, the conflict is actually has assumed even a nuclear dimension, which is threatening the whole region. So I believe that we have to rise as the rising tide.
Yeah, that's true. In fact, Pakistan has always been striving for peace, not only in the region, but for the whole world, in fact. So, but India, as you know, Imran Khan, when he took over as Prime Minister, he extended a hand of cooperation and goodwill to India as well, and offered them to sit together and decide our all outstanding issues. And before concluding our talk, let me quote one anecdote from Mahabharata. But when Arjun was going to wage a war, Maharaj Krishna, in fact, advised him 3 things. First of all, he said, you are going to launch a huge war against those people who have been very, very cruel people. And mind you, you have to get rid of 3 enemies, which are your inner enemies. The first is, I would say in Hindi, the first is krodh, the second is ahankar, the third is badle ki bhavna. So unless you kill these 3 enemies, you cannot win any war. So Admiral, this is very, very important to get rid of these 3 enemies. Unless you get rid of all these 3 enemies, you cannot win any war. It is very important to get rid of egos. It is very important to get rid of anger. And of course, one should always accept the hand of cooperation and goodwill. Thank you very much, Professor.
Thank you, sir.
And very warm welcome to Pakistan. And it was a pleasure to listen to you yesterday, your talk, and hope to see you once again.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.